Hi, Dr. Woods.
This is Julio.
It's Sosa.
This is Damian Butler.
Derek.
Marshall Charles.
Devon Coburn.
And our presentation is going to be on greenhouse gases and the carbon cycle. What are the greenhouse gases and how are they formed?
Greenhouse gases are a group of compounds that are able to trap heat, long-wave radiation in the atmosphere, keeping the Earth warmer than it would be if they were not present.
Greenhouse gases are mostly common formed through use of fossil fuels, deforestation, intensive livestock farming, use of synthetic fertilizers, and industrial processes.
The four main types of forcing greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases.
A couple fun facts on greenhouse gases is that it increases the sea levels and it increases precipitation by 5%, and it increased the U.S.'s temperature up to 2 degrees in the last 50 years.
What is the greenhouse effect?
The effect is a gradual heating of Earth's atmosphere and surface, a process known as global warming.
Without the greenhouse effect, the Earth's average global temperature would be much colder and life on Earth as we know it would not be possible.
Here's a couple images of the greenhouse effect.
How do greenhouse gases lead to climate change? Greenhouse gases trap heat in the troposphere, which is the place where the weather occurs.
Here are images of that.
That represents how everything in the troposphere is...
How it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Correct. What is a carbon footprint, and how can we reduce our own carbon footprint?
It's an amount of carbon dioxide and other carbon compounds emitted due to the consumption of fossil fuels by a particular person, group, etc.
We can reduce our own carbon footprint in many different ways depending on the situation, like recycling, driving, or even food choices.
Here's another image.
Comparison to photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Having too much in the atmosphere causes the greenhouse effect, which is why the Earth warms.
With photosynthesis, CO2 is captured from the atmosphere and, with the help of the sun and water for plants, turned into an organic compound, as you can see in these charts of the plants.
Comparison of respiration. The occurrence of respiration gives off the carbon dioxide that often is included in these greenhouse gases.
This is the respiration process in which you're breathing in and breathing out. When you breathe in oxygen, and when you breathe out CO2. And here's the chemical formula for that.
Then comparison to feeding. The greenhouse gases have infrared radiation that negatively affects the organic foods, known as plants, that are being grown. What does that mean is that it creates a different environment for these animals and every other thing that help us, and also with foods that they do, so they can create a better living environment. But in reality, it doesn't really help because it creates an environment which is basically with too many toxic gases that can and will affect these animals and or plants.
Here's a couple of different percentages on the different ways that greenhouse emissions are implemented into the different resources or things in society. 48% for clouds, 35% methane enters clouds, and 16% nitrous oxide enters cloud. 47% of it enters animals, 6% enters the industrial society, 26% enters the energy, and 19% enters the transportation.
This image is a study from a New Zealand post that helped fix the way on how they're able to make their environment better and their climate. Comparison to death.
Due to global warming, which is the greenhouse gases product, it alters our climate changes such as sudden temperature increases.
Such as the U.S. temperature increasing 2 degrees over the last 50 years.
Also, these large amounts of carbon is essential to our way of living.
For example, through photosynthesis, when we breathe in CO. When we breathe in oxygen and give out CO2 to the plants, there are large amounts of carbon dioxide produced.
When an organism dies, the carbon inside of the organism are released into the atmosphere.
This process is known as decomposition.
Due to greenhouse gases, they create a greater risk of heat-related illness and death, such as people with diabetes.
Comparison to decomposition.
Decomposition of nitrous oxide frequently is incomplete and strongly depends on environmental conditions.
Decomposers help reclaim carbon from dead organisms and put it back into the carbon cycle so living organisms can use it. What does that mean? Is that they are able to create a different living system for them so they can recreate their own selves and have a better living environment.
Decomposers break down dead plants, animals, and waste products, such as when the body is buried, it somewhat decomposes the body and forms it to decay.
Also, with carcasses of other animals and other waste that are created by trees, plants, and everything, which is why many of people they use they use bins in which they put any scraps of food, fruits, or anything in which, in case they are able to use that as fertilizer for their own home. Carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere or water during the decomposition process. These images show the greenhouse effect and Earth's carbon cycle. So,
The greenhouse effect, it starts off with the sun. It's incoming solar radiation. It reaches the Earth's atmosphere. Once it enters the Earth's atmosphere, heat radiates back out from the surface, and it goes up into outer space. And here's another way that it comes from the sun. It's absorbed by the atmosphere. It goes down to the radiated back into the surface, and then it's absorbed by the atmosphere and radiated out once again out to space. Explain the right side.
the Earth's carbon cycle, the image on the right, which is shows the biosphere carbon store and how the ocean carbon store and other things that are here. So if you have a power plant such as the one on the left side of that image, fossil fuels is released into the air, which create an atmosphere carbon store. From that, there's diffusion that's created from the atmosphere into the ocean, known as the ocean carbon store. Then from there you will get many other things that are used, such as limestone and dolomite. From those, you can are also brought by coal, oil, and gases. Then as told by the plants, soil organic matter is then put into respiration of a human being or other plants, which is created by biomasses or deforestation, which will eventually create which creates photosynthesis, but it may affect the living style of other plants and humans.
Thank you for listening. This is the greenhouse gas effect and what it has to do with the many cycles in society, such as the carbon cycle and other cycles. Thank you, Dr. Woods, for listening.